Okay, so let us continue with our lesson. So I was saying that professional users are those people who really make the computer available, and those ones who make the programs also available, and those ones who make other programs. Of course, there are some other programs which are used to make other programs, and those are programming languages. Programming languages. People write programs for the computers using those programs. And so those are all professional users. Now we'll look at computer data. Computer data is what we enter into the computer. Yes. As I said, we are looking at the computer system. When we come to software,
Mr. Kiganda, unmute yourself. I have muted all of them.
Okay. So software, in software is where we're going to look at those questions you're asking. Programming languages, the system software, and application software. Now we are talking about the computer system. And what is involved in the computer system is hardware, software, and humanware. After that, we shall go to the hardware. And from there, we shall go to software. All those are coming. Because now we're going to put this, if I give it to you now. Okay, so we are looking at data. For the computer to give us results, we must have collected some information that you are going to give it. And once we enter the information, very fast, the processing process takes place, and immediately we receive the output on the screen or through the speakers. And if you want, you send to the printer and then have a hard copy. So data are raw facts that are not yet processed, those ones that we enter into the computer. They can be numbers, they can be dots, can be sound, anything that you enter into a computer, anything that is computer processable that can enter into the computer through the input devices, such as the keyboard, the microphone, and so on. So data refers to raw facts and figures that are entered into the computer for processing. It is anything in a form suitable for input into computer processing, anything. So what I'm doing right now, if I'm recording this lesson, I'm now inputting via a microphone. And if I click on my keyboard, I'm inputting via a keyboard. A mouse can help me to move the cursor and probably copy and paste. And basically that, we record videos, record the audios, and so on. Now, processed data is always information. When you enter data, then receive information. Although some people can use your information as data in some way, one way or the other, but what is processed is what is called information. That is what we get after everything has been done, from inputting to outputting, and probably later on storage. Okay, so in future we'll see what we call data information cycle, a processing cycle, data processing cycle, where we get information and data and enter into the computer, then processing, then output, and later storage. So now, musical data can also be grouped into two: unprocessed data, for example, letters, digits, and symbols, for example, ABC and ampersand, and so on, musical notes, and video clips. Then processed data is information like words, for example, already processed, a mathematical formula, grades, a piece of music, or a song or a video clip, okay? So those are the ones that we get after we have entered and then the computer has processed, okay? So computer communication, when we talk of computer communication, obviously we are going to have some connections from our computer to another. Computer communication is the transmission of data and information over a channel between two computers. Over a channel between two computers, two or more, not only two, between two or more computers. For example, when I talk of more, you can have a server and many other computers accessing it at the same time, that is more. Or you can have a certain kind of connection which only allows one-to-one, for example, Bluetooth and infrared, will only allow two devices to communicate at a time, not more than two. But with this local area network, wide area network, we have many computers being connected to, say, one server at the same time. So computer communication, the transmission of data and information over a channel between two computers. And computer communication allows sharing of hardware, software, data, and humanware among computers in a network like the internet. What we mean here is that when we share, we talk of sharing over hardware, we can have, for example, a printer server. We can have, when it comes to software, we can have an application server where we have all the applications stored. And then all these ones can be operated by one person or many people. For example, I sit on my computer and then I send commands to printers that are connected to my computer. And then we have a copy or hard copy printed out. Or people sit on different stations and use my computer to print via the printer that is connected on my computer. So we share. Instead of having a print on every computer in a computer room, we have one connected to one computer and everyone in the room uses that to print. Okay, so that is what we call sharing hardware. Someone can access software from one computer and use it on another, or things like that, okay? But we have to have what we call communication devices connected to these computers, and also have communication devices somewhere that allow these computers to work together. It also facilitates communications between people, for example, through email. These days, everyone now is using WhatsApp. That's a form of communication, and many devices, smartphones have email services. Wherever you are, you can send an email service. You can send a text message to somebody or to many people at the same time. So that means that this kind of communication facilitates, facilitates communication. Computer communication facilitates communication between people. So I want you to take these ones as advantages of computer communication. That is why we said that this sharing of resources such as hardware, software, and data, and it allows us to transmit data via communication lines between computers, two or more computers, and then it allows communication between people via, say, for example, emails. So those should be taken as advantages of computer communication. So communications devices used include the cables. The cables, we have communication cables. Do I have one here? I'm going to show you some of these examples, just a little bit. the very few ones I have, we have the cables. Now, this is an Ethernet cable. I mean, this is a Ethernet cable, network cable, which is connected with the terminals. Now, one side goes to one computer, and then another side goes to what we call a switch. Down there, you see a switch. So we connect it like this, and then it goes to a computer behind. Even a computer has a connection like this one, called these ones RJ45 ports, and the connector is called RJ45. So now computers be able, many computers come into these ports, and they'll communicate. So this is a switch. We have the cable, we have the switch. Then we have the routers. I think even at home you have routers, those ones which have antennas, and a line from outside is connected to them, and they give us what we call, they give us the network. And we have modems. I think everyone knows what a modem is. The type of modems we used to have were bigger, as big as this, but now we have those small pocket modems that we use. And but those satellite connections and others will have the modems also still working there. But now, just to know that we have these components that help us to communicate, we have the cables. We shall not go into details of cables. We'll look at that when it comes to networking, and then also look at switches and routers, modems in networking. But now we just need to know that we have such that allow us to make our computers communicate with each other. In summary, this is what we have. In summary, that is what we have. We have the computer system, then we have the hardware, which are tangible. And then under hardware, we have input, we have processing, we have storage and output. Then we have communication, which transfers data or information from a computer to another. And the devices include cables, modems, routers, and so on. Then you have humanware, the ordinary users like us who are using the computer right now. And then the professionals who make everything happen. For example, those ones who manufacture or design hardware, and those ones who write the programs. Then you must have data, because we use data to run the computers. If you don't have data, then you have nothing to use the computer for. So we have data where we have unprocessed data, and then we have information which comes out of what we entered as data. So system operatings, we have the operating systems like Windows, like Linux, and then also have the application programs like Word or word processors, database programs, and so on. The simple one they gave you is games, because every young person would like to have a computer and play games before they do any other thing. Yes. CPU is the central processing unit, that the brain of the computer. You can't see it here, that's hidden. Under here, we have the fan and the sink, and under the sink, we have the CPU. These ones are put on top of the CPU because when the computer is working, the CPU heats up so much that if there is no any cooling system, it will jam and the computer stop working. Okay, but a small chip, very small chip with many pins, and everything you see on the motherboard. People are seeing the motherboard. Someone was asking about what the CPU is, and I was explaining to him what the CPU is. I mean to her, talking about girls. Okay, so a CPU sits on the motherboard, and every line is on the computer runs to the CPU. We have ports behind there where connect gadgets, and every gadget connect also runs to the CPU, okay? From the CPU to other areas, because the actual processing takes place in the CPU. RAM helps to facilitate and works as the desktop, but the CPU is the brain of the computer that processes everything, okay? So sometimes people call that box the CPU, but that is a system unit. I wonder whether you're going to copy this or not, but if you're not going to copy this, I would suggest that you move on. We move on to hardware. We move on to hardware. If there's something you need, I think we'll make sure that we make it available on the e-learning platform. Okay, so this is the end of computer system. Let us go to another. What do you start with? Is it keyboard navigation? Okay, so let us go to Unit 4. Let us go to Unit 4 and look at keyboard and navigation. Keyboard and navigation. Every computer, I think every data processing system, many of them have keyboards, but keyboards also vary. They may not look the same depending on the kind of language you are using. Like if you are from the French-speaking countries, your keyboard may be different from those ones who are English-speaking people. So now, in here, we are going to look at, or we'll be able, at the end of the unit, we'll be able to use the keyboard and navigation tools. We have the mouse, and then we're going to look at the structure of the standard mouse. We are going to look at the buttons on the mouse. And B, the keyboard. We are going to look at the structure of the standard keyboard, sections of the keyboard and their uses, and then key combinations and their uses. It will be better. Don't just cover your books. Many times we cover the books and we don't look at what we studied before to see whether we really achieved the objectives. Now, in this unit, we shall be familiarizing ourselves to the keyboard and the mouse, the main computer input devices. Remember, the keyboard is the main input device of a computer. A mouse helps us to move the cursor and point and click and so on. But the main input device of the computer is the keyboard. Much of the time will be given for practical work. The following will be done: utilize Word, Pad, and typing tutors to develop skills of typing. These are the things you can do in order to get used to the keyboard. For those ones who did typing, you find it easier. But for those who didn't, you need to practice typing. You can have typing tutors. You can download them from the internet and store them on your computer and follow them. They have good games that can help you enhance your learning to use the keyboard. But the faster you use the keyboard, the better. That even in the exams you're doing it, a practical exam, you find it very, very easy. You'll be at an advantage as compared to those ones who don't have the skill. Now, let us look at the mouse. The mouse, this is our mouse, this one, and it's an optical mouse, okay? It has some light in there. It has a button here and has a button there, and then it has a scroll wheel, which helps, and I think you are doing what, you are seeing what it is doing, scrolling up and down, and that is the mouse, okay? So we are going to look at this first before you go to the keyboard, and then I think by the time we finish this, you'll be able to identify the different buttons, the different uses of the parts of the mouse. So now, a mouse is a pointing device which allows users to move the cursor and make selections on the computer screen. You use this mouse to move the cursor, and what you see on the screen moving like an arrow, that is the cursor. And then it allows you to select, to make selections, and then open the selected selections. In a document like this one, it can allow you to select. When you select, that is blocking. That means when you select, you're either going to cut or you're going to copy. And then when you copy, it allows you to also paste. When you click somewhere, it allows you right click, and then when you right click and then choose the appropriate command. It also shows you where what you see on the screen that is beaming after the word actions is the I beam, which is now the point where the next character is going to be entered. So clicking there with the mouse will make you activate that area. And therefore, when you type, whatever you type goes where that cursor, the I beam is. But if you don't click anywhere, the mouse can move about on the screen, but still when you type, it only go where the I beam is. So we are saying that a pointing device is any piece of hardware that is used to allow a user to input spatial data to a computer. Just as you would use your hands to interact with the objects in the physical world, you can use the mouse to interact with the items on your computer screen. We have many areas on the screen. When you go to a web page and you find a link where you put your cursor and then the cursor turns into a pointing finger, and then you click, you go to another page. You use the mouse to do that, okay? You use the mouse to click on buttons, use the mouse to click on commands, to open new pages and new programs, and so on. So you can move objects, open them, change them, throw them away, and perform other actions. You can do all that by pointing, clicking, and dragging. Clicking, single click or double click, right click, and dragging with your mouse. We shall look at these ones when we come, we shall look at how this can be used, or we can even do it now. So what happens when I double click? Double click selects a word. Triple click selects a paragraph. Okay. So when I select and hold down the mouse button, which is the left mouse button, then a small envelope comes on the cursor, meaning that I'm ready to drag that word from the point where it is to another point. And so if I move this word to another point and that it is the mouse key, then I'll be dropping, okay? So you drag and drop, you drag and drop. So clicking is either single click so that you can put the I-beam somewhere, or double click to select a word, or triple click to select a paragraph. Dragging is selecting this word here and then hold the button down and then take it to the position you want that word to go. That is dragging. So now that is many others. So double click, you select a word. Triple click, you select a paragraph. Right click, you create. When you right click, you are now activating a drop down menu which has commands pertaining to that area or that document where you have clicked, right click from, and from there you can choose what you want to do with the clicking. So right click gives you that. For example, if I select the word and I right click, you'll find that there is a command cut, a command copy. And if I cut, down here you see this figure, which is a watermark now, which is a paste option. If I choose one of these, then this one becomes active, and when it becomes active and then I right click again, then I can paste where I want this word to go. So all those are done using the mouse, okay? So as I said, you can do all that by pointing. Pointing means you click, you put your cursor to a certain area, or clicking by double clicking or single clicking or triple clicking, dragging by selecting and then hold it down and then move the cursor to another position where you want to drop that, and so on and so forth. So that is the mouse. It helps us do all those things and make our work a little bit easier. So let us look at the basic parts of the mouse. I think you are able to see the picture. Let me go to slideshow. Okay. So a mouse typically has two buttons. As you can see, we have this button and this button. They are not very clear because the color is the same, but when you look on the side here, you see that this part, the top part is kind of detached from the other part, okay? So two buttons, one is the primary button, usually the left button, and then secondary button, usually the right button. We use the left button more often than we use the right button. You use the primary button most often. Most mice also include a scroll wheel between the two buttons. This is the scroll wheel. As the word is, you scroll through your document up and down. If you want to go down, you don't have to get go to the scroll bar on the screen. Yes, please, Sarah, do you have a question? Sarah? No? Okay, so you will use the primary button. Okay, unmute and ask. All right, so most mice also include a scroll wheel in the middle between the two buttons to help you scroll so that you don't move your hand from your mouse to the arrow keys on your keyboard, okay? So the two buttons we talked about, one is the primary button, then number two is the scroll wheel, and then number three is the secondary button. Secondary is the right-hand side key of the mouse, and then primary is the one on the left hand side of the mouse. In the middle, we have the scroll wheel that allows us to scroll through the document, either going down or going up. Okay, so move on. We want to see the importance of this. So how do we use the mouse? Place your mouse beside your keyboard We are talking about this big computer, the desktop computer, because your keyboard is going to be right in front of you, and then the mouse is going to be on your right-hand side if you are right-handed, and then to be on your left-hand side if you are left-handed. But I want you to remember that we said the left-hand side button of the mouse is the primary key, assuming that everyone is a right-handed person. If you're left-handed, you can configure your mouse to make the right-hand side key to be your primary key, and then the yeah, did I say it right? And then the right-hand side key to be your secondary button, your primary button. Left hand on the ordinary is the primary button, but if you are left-handed, then right-hand button will be your primary button, and then left hand will be your secondary button. If you find problems using the mouse the way it was ordinarily, we are going to look at that soon. Okay, so hold the mouse gently with your index finger resting on the primary button and your thumb resting on the side. Rest your finger. We have 3 fingers, this one and this one. And then this finger here will also be used to scroll, but this finger will be used to right click, this one to left click, okay? And don't press it hard, just hold it gently. To move the mouse slightly, to move the mouse, slide it slowly on the direction, don't twist it. Keep the front of the mouse aimed away from you as you move the mouse. A point on your screen moves in the same direction. So we hold it like this, and then we move it, and then this part must be the one in front. You don't use it while this part is pointing in front. So it is where the cable is that faces the front, and you put your palm on the back of the mouse, something like that. And when you're moving it gently, move it gently, and the cursor will move to the direction we are moving. And when you reach the area where you want to click, hold it and click gently again. Okay. So keep the front of the mouse aimed away from you as you move the mouse. A point on your screen moves in the direction of the mouse. If you run out of room for more to move your mouse on your desk or mouse pad, just pick it up and put it in the right position. So when I'm moving the mouse on the table and then I lift it, the cursor doesn't continue to move on the screen. It waits for me to press it on the ground and then to move. So when you are a learner, you find that the space where you are moving your cursor is smaller because you don't know how to control it. But when you learn to control it, a smaller space will be enough for you to do it. Now, Nabumba, do you have a question or do you have anything to say? Nabumba? Is Nabumba there? Okay. So if you run out of play, we said you lift it up and then place it in the right position and then continue moving it. So hold the mouse lightly, keeping your wrist right, straight, and don't make it rigid. Okay, so down here we have the mouse pad. And what's the use of a mouse pad? So many people don't use this these days. I don't know why. Probably because the mouse will have that that light there, which is the sensor, and the ones we used to have had balls under with the rollers, that every time you rolled the ball on the ground, it would pick some dust, which would then clot the rollers, and the mouse would not move properly on the ground, and then therefore the cursor wouldn't move properly on the screen. So a mouse pad or mouse mat is a surface for placing and moving a computer mouse. A mouse pad improves the usability of the mouse. It enables higher speed, more precision, and comfort for the user compared to using a mouse directly on the table. If the table is not smooth, it has some dust and so on, then the movement of the cursor on the screen will be hampered. And so you need a mouse pad, which you can also clean. It is also a little bit soft and makes the movement of the cursor and then the mouse movement on the screen on the ground better and faster. So a secondary benefit was to keep the desk or table surface from being scratched and reduce debris under the mouse. When you move it, it collects some dust at the bottom, but it's not more of a case more of this, that it was a problem with those ones which used to have balls under. These days, we don't correct a lot of dust when we use the mouse on the table. So pointing to an item on the screen. Yes, okay, go ahead. Chirabo? Is it muted? Not the, hey, they were. I was saying, someone was saying that her keyboard is hard when she presses the buttons. I'm saying that try to get, if you don't have a blower to blow the dust out, you can get a brush and try to sweep the dust out of the buttons. And please try to use your computer. Try to avoid taking it near your keyboard. So don't use the computer when you're eating grab, okay? Because those things cramp the computer. They make the keyboard and then they make the buttons fail to go down. So try to do that. Clean the keyboard and you'll find it working.
F.A. Bagagalira. Incoming call from F.A. Baguilera.
Okay, so I was looking at clicking. Pointing to an item on the screen means moving your mouse to the pointer so that the pointer appears to be touching the item. When you move your mouse, then you point to a certain item, or you point to a word or to a link, like we have the web browser here. When I put my mouse there, my mouse cursor there, you see how it turns around about, it becomes a pointing finger, but that is pointing. Putting the cursor on top of an item is pointing. So when you point something, a screen tip often appears that describes the item. When you're doing, for example, when I put my cursor, look up there, when I put my cursor on the pause share, then it's going to give you the word. And then the alternative shortcut that you can use to do that, for example, Alt-T, which means terminate. So the cursor will give you, sometimes it will give you the name of the item and the purpose of the item that you're pointing at. But if you're pointing into a text that you created, then it will not show anything, but pointing at a link to show you a finger that is now pointing. And when you click, then you jump to that page. So for example, when you point to a recycle bin on this desktop, a screen tip appears with this information, contains the files and folders that you have deleted, containing the files that and folders that you have deleted. That is an item on the screen, which is the recycle bin. If you point to another, it will tell you what it is, and another, the same thing. And if you open a program, for example, Microsoft Office Word, and then you open at the commands up there on the ribbon or on the bars above the screen, whichever item you point at, then a message will come to tell you what that does and what it is on the screen. So that is pointing, okay? Then clicking, when talk of clicking, single clicking, clicking an item to the pointing to the item on the screen and then press the release button, the print and release the button. That is the primary key, usually the left button. That is clicking, single clicking. Usually it will select, it will give you the area where you can put another character when you are doing a certain creating some kind of text. But when you are in a browser or when you're pointing at buttons in an application, clicking will select that item. Clicking will select that item. Single clicking will select that item, and then double clicking will open it, okay? So clicking on an item or a button, it will select it. Double clicking will open it. So to click an item, point to the item on the screen and then press and release the button. Clicking is most often used to select an item or to execute a command with a command button. Clicking also called single clicking or left clicking. Left clicking, remember, is the clicking of the left button, and right clicking is the clicking of the right button. Also give us different results. We said when you click on an item, it selects it. Sometimes it opens it, okay? And usually when you want to open an item on the desktop, you select and then open. That means you're going to do what you call double clicking. So double clicking an item, you point to the item on the screen and then you click twice quickly. You don't click and then leave a space of time and then click again. No, you double click, double clicking. Am I visible anyway? if you're not able to see me, just listen because I have a problem here. Okay, so I was saying that double clicking, you click very fast. Do you have a mouse there? You double click. When double clicking, you are going to do this very fast. Single clicking, you click once. Double clicking, you click very fast. But if you click and then wait and click again, that will not be double clicking. So it will not work. It will not work for you. So here we are saying that double click an item, you point to the item on the screen and then click twice quickly. If the two clicks are spaced too far apart, they might be interpreted as two individual clicks rather than as one double click. So double clicking, you need to be fast. Make your finger flexible. You may not even remove it from the button because once you click, the spring will spring the button up and then you press it again very fast. So double click is most often used to open items on your desktop. When you find an icon, you want to open a certain program or a certain folder that is stored on the desktop, you are going to point at it and then double click. Once you do that, then it will open and then you'll be able to see what is inside the folder. Okay, so sometimes you do that by right clicking and then when the menu comes, you click open, but double clicking that does that very fast that you don't need to right click and then double click, and then click open. So double clicking, we said, is used to open items on your desktop. For example, you can start a program or open a folder by double clicking it on the desktop. So double clicking basically used to open objects on the desktop. But in a document that you created, whether in a PowerPoint like this one or a word processor, double clicking is going to select a word. Double clicking is going to select a word. When you are editing or you're typing a text, it will not be the same thing that happens when you click on a certain item on the desktop. So a mouse can be used for that, opening the double clicking, open a folder or a file on the desktop, or selecting a word in a document that you are working on. Right clicking, did you ask right clicking? Secondary. Okay, right clicking, to right click an item, point to the item on the screen and then press and release the secondary button, usually the right button. That is right clicking. This button here, when you click on it, that is right clicking. Okay, so right clicking an item usually displays a pop-up menu with a list of things you can do with the item. You can see it on the screen here. When I right click, because I'm now doing a PowerPoint presentation, I have next, previous. So when I right click, I can choose to go back to the previous, or I can choose to go to the next slide, or I can choose to zoom in, or I can choose to end the show, right clicking. So now that is right clicking. It gives you options to do from a pop-up menu to act upon. That is right clicking. And in any space on the computer, if you right click, a menu will come, but the menus will not be the same because the items you clicked on are not the same. The computer detects that now you are in a document, this is what you need. And then you're presenting, this is what you need. You want to open an item, this is what you need. So usually it's automatic that the menus are going to be pertaining to that particular item you right-clicked on. Okay. For example, when you right-click on the recycle bin on your desktop, Windows displays a menu allowing you to open it, empty it, delete it, or see its properties. Okay, so when you right-click on any item, usually on the desktop, anything that you try to open, that word properties will be there. If you want to know the size of your document, the file you want to open, for example, you go to Windows Explorer and you right-click on a particular file, you find the properties, and the properties, then you find the size of the document, when it was created, and so on and so forth. So you use the right button to do all those. If you are ever unsure of what to do with something, right-click it. If you are not sure of what you want to do with something on a computer, right-click on it, and then you get what you want to know. Okay, so dragging. At the beginning, I showed you how you can drag, and this is where we're going to stop. What's this one? Chirabo Sharon Babiri. So the unmuting bit.
Teacher, you answered my question.
Oh, the one in the, okay. You can unmute. Nabukenya Ramina. Nabukenya.
Excuse me, teacher. I don't understand this part of like the windows when they display the menu. What part?
When they display the menu, are you about? Are we talking about right-clicking?
Yes.
Okay, so you are able to see what you have on the screen that we are sharing, right? When you right-click, do you see that pop-up menu that has come up? Now, Kenya, unmute and answer me. Now, Kenya. Chirabo, please mute if you have nothing to contribute. Mute. Nabumba Nabira, your hand has been up. Nabumba.
What's wrong with turning the mouse the other side?
Turning the mouse the other side. Which other side? Oh, I'm not clear with your question, Nabumba. Don't unmute, just stay online. Unmute, please, and come again. If you mean turning the mouse so that the back part is pointing in front, you'll not be able to, click the buttons properly, and you'll not be able to point the cursor on the screen on the right place on the screen, because you are doing it the reverse way. But if you mean putting the mouse from the right side, from the right-hand side to the left-hand side, again, if you are left-handed, you need to configure your mouse that you kind of switch the buttons to switch your convenience, okay? But turning it behind like this will give you a lot of problems to point to the right position on the screen, if that's what you meant. Nantaba Monera. Nantaba Monera.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes.
On the mouse, we have a rolling thing in the middle between
The scroll wheel.
Yes.
Yes.
What would happen if you clicked on the rolling screen?
If you clicked on it and you were working on a certain document, by the way, do you see what is happening on the screen? Do you see? Okay.
Yes.
So when you roll it, then you'll be moving from top to bottom or from bottom to top. But another thing that it can do for you is that when you reach the point where you want to go and you press the wheel, it will to act as the left-hand button, and that will be like you are kind of single clicking, okay? You can single click using the wheel, but basically it is used to scroll up and down the document you are working on.
Okay.
Okay, is Nabumba still there? Nabumba?
Teacher,
Yes.
I meant, does it cause any problem to the device, to the computer?
No, it doesn't cause any problem to the device, but gives you a hard time using it. You get it?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Chirabo Sharon, do you have something more to say? Time is up. Chirabo? Okay, we shall start from there next time because it is time up. Thank you for being around. Okay. Hey, wait. Anisha and Mbabas. Anisha and Mbabas. Anisha?
Can you please repeat the definition of dragging?
I beg your pardon?
Can you please repeat the definition of dragging?
Dragging. Oh, okay. So I say that when you want to drag an item from one position to another, you are going to select the item you want to drag from that point to another. For example, on the screen, if you want to move an icon from one position to another, you left click and hold the cursor there, and then move the mouse to the point where you want it to go, and then drop. Dropping means that you release the left mouse button. Or if you want to drag a word in your document from one position to another, you select that word, hold the cursor down, the button down, and then move the cursor to the point where you want that word to be. Okay, that is dragging.
Yes, teacher.
Yes.
Thank you, teacher.
Oh, you're welcome. Akil Isa. Akil Isa. Okay, give us Samantha. Akil.
What is a fiber?
A fiber?
Yes.
It's just a blank word. Why don't you, do you mean fiber optics? Do you mean, because you are taking me to biology now? What fiber are you talking about? Don't worry, we just want to find the answer for you. Yes? Give me a minute, and then because the fiber is, we have many fibers. We have optical fiber, we have fiber optics, grocery, so on. So are you talking about the communication cable, the cable that we use to communicate, connecting internet from point to another, or what? That's the fiber I have. Okay, girls, let's call it a day. Probably we cannot continue anymore. Have a nice time. Goodbye.